Bookcase TV is brought to you in part by Resident Magazine.
Yes, my name is Frederic Colier, and I wanted to warn the people of New York City that they are about to be invaded.
Invaded by whom?
Oh, invaded by Martians. I've noticed about a month ago that all on the top of the roof of all the buildings in New York City, there were a spaceship accumulating.
Spaceships?
Yes, you know, they look like a water tower, but they're not. They're actually spaceship.
You're saying the water towers are spaceships?
I am not saying it. I believe it. I see them, and I know that at night, the Martians that live inside the spaceship come out of them, go down in the street and capture people.
People? They capture people?
They capture people to turn them into writers.
What kind of writers?
Non-fiction writer mainly. And you know, it happened to me. I woke up a couple of days ago and I was suddenly turned into a non-fiction writer.
A non-fiction writer?
A non-fiction writer.
Is that what you're doing now?
That's actually, I'm telling you the truth. I'm reporting what I'm seeing, what I've lived through, and I was captured by Martians on top of a spaceship that looks like a water tower, and they are all over the city, and people pay absolutely no attention. They think I'm crazy, but actually...
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Cut. Cut.
You work for?
Post Editions.
Post Editions, which
pronounced Post Editions in Dutch, which is a Rotterdam-based publisher.
And you specialize in what sort of books?
Art books and photography books.
And how long has the house been open?
Since 3 years.
3 years ago it started?
Yes.
Okay. And how is it doing?
It's actually going well.
Okay.
But of course we have downtimes where, you know, some of the books just don't sell as well as others. And right now the whole of Holland is actually going through a difficult phase in terms of funding for art books.
How many books a year are you publishing?
About 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
Yeah.
And
that's pretty much max.
Yes. Okay. And how big is your team?
3.
3 people?
With an intern sometimes, and actually one is the hat, which is Nina. She's the owner of the company. I do submissions, and there's somebody else who does orders. The
reason you're here is what? You're so small, you're such a micro publisher.
Yeah.
Why you come to New York?
Well, because as a publisher you have a responsibility for the artist to be seen. And of course it's also earning money, but it's basically to get the books out there and people see the work of the artist and the stories that they want to tell with their books.
Show me the most successful, but what does well?
There are 3 books that are doing very well. Actually, this is a New York-based photographer, Dana Lixenberg.
What's her name? Dana Lixenberg, okay.
Yeah, she is, this is a book specifically on an island in Alaska, Shishmaref. It's the last in New York.
Where?
Was Alaska.
Alaska, okay.
Right. And she focused, actually there was a documentary made and she did the book at the time of the documentary. It's done on 4x5 inch, which means that you have a camera on a tripod, tripod, and need a lot of time to focus. And, well, she's quite fast. But actually this would illustrate the whole story. It's the story of the island that's disappearing into the sea because of the climate change and the permafrost hitting an inch later.
So you're trying to say that
the climate
changing is taking the island away?
Yes.
So this erosion we're basically talking.
Right, okay. We're talking about the erosion. The beautiful thing about these people is that they're
Let's go
still...
back to that picture you were showing.
It's the first one with the house disappearing.
Yeah, because I say it encapsulates the whole...
the story.
The whole story.
That's the sort of...
Okay. And so here we have a house that just fell off the land, basically.
Right.
It's going to
because it's the winter storms that take off huge pieces of land. And well, the books really sort of beautifully illustrates the life of those people that are still living off hunting and have a very traditional life that they wouldn't be able to lead if they were resettled on the mainland.
What sort of print is this book, for example?
It would be a 1,500 copies.
15 copies, okay.
Right.
And how do you distribute the book?
We have distributors for
okay.
us. Yes, we have, in America, we have RAM Books,
Okay,
or RAM Publications, or RAM Distributors.
And they carry you and then they resell through retailers?
Yes,
okay.
retailers. And sometimes it goes directly, but in America it would be RAM Books. A few we do themselves. In London we have Art Book Data.
Okay.
And in Europe we have Idea Books otherwise.
The publications of this is 2 of them. What's the other one? Do your publishing house have a theme or some sort of a philosophical mission statement?
Well, it's definitely that most of the books have a social, not really mission, but they're definitely socially involved.
Okay.
So it's always that there is always a social side to it.
For this one, it's an obvious one.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, you want to report that
Yes.
these people are in danger. So what's the next book?
This one would be Ant Willem. It's the story of an identical twin. This is the photographer himself.
Okay.
This would be his brother, his identical twin brother.
So it's a real story.
It's a real story, yes. It's about identity and how how your identity is being shaped throughout the years. We liked it because the twin, actually, Willem, was trying to tell the story of his life in an extremely conceptual way, showing his parents and other family members, like brothers and sisters that aren't really his brothers and sisters.
So what makes this story unique? Because so far it's just like everyone's story.
That is actually very unique because people can relate to it, and this
Okay.
is actually told in a very conceptual way because it looks very thought through, very detached. It's a highly emotional story of that when you are born as an identical twin, you always have the other half that you're missing.
That was the part that was missing. So this is an identical twin that got separated at birth.
At age of 5.
Age of 5, they got separated.
Yes.
That's pretty late.
That is very late, yes. And
And
it wasn't a very easy story.
So it's an investigation.
Yes. The story is sort of being retold, the story of his youth and the separation and trying to get back together, and the judges being involved and
The
family
Dutch,
problems.
government, yeah. But we don't need to give away
The prawns?
the outcomes. No, people
Right.
will have to buy the book to find out whether they
Okay.
got back together or not. You also print a big format book, I believe,
Yes.
right? And so what's an example of that?
This would be Ilse Freck.
Oh, wow, that's okay.
I Am Paradox. It's a different way of reading the book because you'd have to lie it down in order to fold things out. And Ilse wanted to tell the story of women from immigrant backgrounds that lead sort of the same life in the outskirts of Paris,
Okay.
in the banlieues. You may call them ghettos here, I guess. And by the graphic design, she specifically asked for a certain graphic designer, a certain team of graphic designers to design the book for her. She also wanted to interweave the stories of the women.
So for you as a publisher,
Yeah.
how's the selection process? Why you decide to cover this woman rather than another one?
I guess. Well, I haven't been involved with this book. I don't know
Okay,
that
but-
Nina actually was very intrigued with the whole story, and then also she likes to make special books. She doesn't want to do the standard books that other publishers can, because there's all those big publishers that produce a book in a day and a half, because money-wise, otherwise it doesn't pay off for them, and that's the good thing about being so small. Most of the books, actually, this I think took nearly a year to be
That's what I
designed,
thought,
and this one also. But you have the time as a small publisher, you can actually do it, and you have to specialize in something. So we're sort of in Holland, I think we're known for the sort of special books.
Special books.
They're just a little different. Graphic design is a very, very important.
And also finding the printing place or someone who can do it, execute it, is also it's a problem.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of really good printers in Holland. I think that the funding most of the times is the biggest problem.
Oh, that problem. All right. Well, thank you very much for giving us a little world tour of.
Well, thank you very much.
Wish you all the best.
Thank you.
The name of the publishing house is?
It's Revival House Press.
Okay, how did that got started?
It started, I was involved with this company based out of Portland, Oregon called Tender Loving Empire.
Okay.
They were pretty broad. They did comics, records, books. Eventually, they decided to focus more on music, so I decided to pick up the comics end, start my own venture called Revival House Press.
Is that where you're from?
Yes,
Portland?
Portland, Oregon.
Are you a big liberal? Tree huggers?
I'd say quasi. I'm a tree hugger of sorts.
Talking about trees to books, you need them to make books. So
You do.
Why Brooklyn?
You know, it's the place to be. You know, I've always wanted to live in New York City, and figure this is my opportunity and opening within the aforementioned cartoon house came about. So just decided to move there.
Okay, and so your background is what? You're a cartoonist yourself?
Sometime
Sometime,
cartoonist, just comics enthusiast mostly.
So the Revival House,
Yeah.
how did you go off the ground?
You know, I worked a year in Korea as an English teacher,
Okay.
and the money that I saved with teaching English, I went ahead and just put it directly into Revival House Press.
Okay, and so the process was what? Selecting writers or illustrator?
Illustrators, cartoonists. I'm very privileged because I mainly get to work with my friends who also happen to be very talented artists. For example, Mike Bertino, who publishes the comic Trigger, I grew up with him and he's one of my best friends, so decided to put him out.
But there was a clear objective on the Revival's House from the get-go. It was going to be Comic Land.
Comics, yeah.
So how many to date? I mean, how long have you been around, first of all?
I've been around for about 3 years now.
3 years, okay.
Yeah.
How many publications is that?
6 publications,
So it's about 2 a year?
more or less.
And you doing the typesetting, the layout, and
You know,
all the steps on the process? Or?
I'm more of an editor slash middleman.
Okay.
So I'm fortunate because the artists I work with, they're skilled with the layout, so they generally like to do them themselves. So I'm the gentleman who gets the files and then takes the files to the printer and then produces the book.
Well, I think it's the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so give us some example of what you've done so far.
Okay, so this title right here is Everything Unseen, Volume 1 by Drew Beckmeyer.
Okay.
Drew's very interesting because this is his first comic. And his first book, he had never done a comic before. His background was in fine arts, and so he decided to go for it and produce this comic.
Okay, and so you saw it and you say, oh my God, I've got to publish it.
Absolutely. It was that exact reaction.
So how many copies do you print, for example?
I usually stay within the ballpark of about 250 to 500. So I like to keep my print runs semi-limited.
And you use sort of photocopiers or offset machines?
Offset.
Offset machines?
All offset.
My memory of offset printing, is 4-color separation.
Plates and all that, yeah.
And what else?
The next book that I have is Trigger by my friend Mike Bertino. This was like the first pamphlet comic that we did. It's a one-man anthology in the same vein as Daniel Klaus's 8-Ball. So it's 3 individual stories in each edition. He's very inspired by cartoonists like E.C. Seeger. He's kind of a purist in that way.
The style of the stories? I mean, you can open and show us a couple of pages.
So like for example, we have the first story, which is titled Grown Ups. Okay. This is a story that continues in each issue.
It's very clean drawing.
Yeah, very clean, very precise drawing. And then if you were to flip forward, there's a very comedic, humorous story featuring, I guess, a nice young hipster and his unicorn buddy. Okay. And then the final tale is a quasi-autobiographical story.
When I hear art books, I often feel like you meet people on the fringe of making a statement, political statement. I mean, I refer you're from Oregon, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Did you bring this flavor into Revival House?
Are you saying like political statements?
Well, for example, maybe I'm vegetarian or I'm a green energy specialist and whatever. Is there such a tone in a Revival House?
I would say I wouldn't say there's an immediate political tone to the books that I publish. I would say I'm pushing an ethos as well as an aesthetic.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So what's the direction for the future, and where would you like to be?
I'd like to just have a nice body of work behind me. I'd love to just continue publishing artists. I'm going to be publishing 3 books for the Brooklyn Comics Fest coming up. Okay. So I guess my goal is to just expand the roster of artists that I have and just keep publishing. Okay.
But in regard to, you talk about the ethos. If you build a portfolio, you have to maybe just widen your expectation or widen your, to reach a broad audience. You can't keep on cranking things out that don't sell, right?
Right.
You want them to sell.
So I'm in favor of having a nice divergent body of work, but I'd like to maintain an essence with what I publish, which is basically a strong visual component with outstanding narrative content.
What's, talking about visual contents and narrative stories, what's your favorite of all your books you've published?
You know, of the books that I publish, I'm going to have to probably go with Everything Unseen.
Okay, so what makes this one stands out?
What I love about Everything Unseen is just, like I said before, this is Drew Beckmeyer's very first comic, and the layouts are just very unique because he's not familiar with the boundaries of comics. So for him, it's a new format, and he's unfamiliar, so anything goes. Also, he uses pencils, which I find very interesting. And then even in the final chapter here of this book, he uses crayons too.
Right.
So he also has a very interesting dystopian type of comics narrative in each issue. And the main character's name is Charles Grodin, which I find charming. So.
Charles Grodin, and what's happening to Charles?
He lives in this dystopian world, and basically Charles he's born in an internment camp. So his goal is to escape, which he does in the first issue. He finds himself out in the desert and, just encountering a variety of interesting characters.
How successful has it been?
It's been successful. We're sold out of the first issue. I only personally have about 10 copies left of the first issue. And it's been selling well.
Okay, you do realize you have to leave on the chair when you leave.
Absolutely, yes.
Martians are invading us. At least this is what some New Yorkers are claiming. It has been reported that little green men, landing their spaceship on the roof of buildings, are capturing people during their sleep and turning them into non-fiction writers. Here's a sample. What is art? Let me tell you. If you put a lot of art in a book, it becomes an art book. Just as if you put a lot of butter on a fly, you get a butterfly. Now, if you can light a light without a lighter, you can certainly fly a fly without a flyer. If you can book a book without a booker, you certainly can fish a fish without a fisher. Who's living on the wrong planet here? Our rooftop cameras have seen nothing, so let me take you to a book fair where real artists are residing. Where is Red 76?
It's a group that's been going on almost 13 years now.
13 years?
Yeah, of like-minded writers, artists, activists, what have you.
You don't all live in that shack, do you?
We don't all live in this shack, no. This was a friend's greenhouse for some time.
When I walked in, you were doing, I think you were cutting paper. Is that a new journal you've been working on?
We've been doing a lot of one-off kind of books like this,
What is it?
making a lot of libraries.
Make the road by walking. This is a literature, not pamphlets or manifesto.
No, anything
Okay.
from histories to essays to poetry, what have you. All kind of referential material. And
What were you working on then?
Bartleby the Scrivener.
Oh yeah. I mean, why are you working on that now?
That particular story of Melville's is fairly referential to a lot of the things that we're interested in. How we situate ourselves in relation to power and our own autonomy and our relationships with one another.
I know the story well because it's a classic, but I'm
Yeah.
always surprised how classic it has remained, because some classics do fade.
Perennial.
Why do you think it has remained so?
The great thing about Melville is that he gets more pertinent as he gets older, whereas when he was first around, people thought he was totally insane.
Let's talk about the Journal of Radical Shimming.
Sure.
What's that about?
It's a way for us to move ideas that are interesting to us and resonant within our conversations, within our projects, past the initial space of conversation. But also, it's a way to generate new ideas.
All right. What is this? What was that you doing? What's that?
This is my Pacifist Library.
Let me see a bit.
Yeah. My wife and I have been carrying these backpacks with a selection of pacifist books on them around...
You go around carrying books like that on your back?
Yeah, we've been carrying these backpacks for the past month and a half around Queens. We've been making stops at public libraries, in the street, public places, and offering the selection of books on pacifism and nonviolent social change for people to read. Well, we're promoting a message. We're an art project, and our hope with this is to open a conversation more than to promote a message.
And all this, obviously, you go around carrying the library on your back.
We go around with our backpacks, yeah. So this is a modified external backpack, external frame backpack. And so we carry this on our back.
It's a book back.
Yeah, right, we built the shelves ourselves with some PVC pipe. And we carry that and some mats and some stools, and we just set up anywhere and invite people to look at our books and to talk.
And that's all from Busy TV World. Remember, reading blows your mind. So let's see what we've got this week for the Pics of the Week. I would like to start actually with a great book of photography, Global Model Village by Slinkatchu. Slinkatchu, no one knows really who he is, but he's an artist, pretty famous for living his trademark on pavement around the world, and who lives in London. In his book, he takes little miniature figurines from train sets and insert them in a real life setting and real scale setting. For example, you have a miniature Eiffel Tower with a salesman right outside the real Eiffel Towers, and the implication is in economies of scale. What does that imply? Well, you can all investigate sort of question. You have, for example, a man in a suit lost inside a dollar bill that has been folded like a boat outside some big building in Germany. And it goes on and on. You have a fantastic voyage where two little people are inside the bottle capsule and face a shoe left in a puddle where the shoelace actually makes like a Loch Ness monster. So all this relationship between the found object and the miniature object in a real life setting opens a dialogue perhaps to understand what is economy of scales. What do we see, what we choose not to see in life? If you are interested in those questions, I greatly recommend you to check this book, Global Model Village by Slinkatchu. So the next books I would like to introduce you for this week, the Pic of the Week, is a wonderful book by Sophie Blackhall, Misconnection. You may know her for the fresco she did for the MTA, the drawing of all these people in the car that are standing, and also for the Aldous Huxley's children's book. But Misconnection is about grown-up, and it's about the misconnection, obviously, that we have in everyday life. When we go in a carriage car, in a restaurant, it's a look, a gesture, the impulse of getting to know someone, and we don't act on it. All these little daily mundane details, that opportunities we could create new relationships. This book is a result of that. Beautiful drawings that actually started on as a blog. She used to do one a week, and the blog got noticed, and she got published through that. So Misconnection, Lost, Loved and Found by Sophie Blackhall. Our last book for this week, The Pics of the Week, is actually a memoir by Lynn Shapton, Swimming Studies. So why did we pick up a memoir as our last selection for today? Lynn Shapton was a swimmer when she was an adolescent. She even tried for the Olympics in 98 and 92. And the book is actually a nice recollection. It's a lovely recollection of what it's like to become a different person once the past obsession have subsided. It's full of details about what it's like to be a pre-Olympian swimmer, from having your hair chlorine 7 hours a day. What would happen if you bleached it, for example, or having goggles on your eyes for a good part of the day. Lynn Shapton is also an illustrator, and she has filled the page of this book with the pictures of a swimsuit collection and also portraits of the people she came across, and they are really, really well done. She's no longer a swimmer at the pre-Olympian level, but she's still attracted to the swimming pool. So how to be in the present with a new personality when it's not possible to be in the past anymore or live through the past. Lynn Shapton, Swimming Study.